Hi, this is Purnima Devi from SNSCT. Now I discuss about scatter plot in data analytics. The scatter plot is a mathematical technique that is used to represent data, and the scatter plot also used to called the scatter graph or scatter chart used to dots to describe two different numerical values. We consider the two variable x and y. So the x variable, we can take the two numerical values, that is variable is x and y. The position of dot on the horizontal and vertical axis indicate the value for an individual data points. So in this scatter plot, so this is a type of data visualization used to display the relationship between two continuous variable, that is x and y. It is particularly useful for identifying correlation or patterns between the variables. So the x and y axis, or the two variables, are plotted along the x and y axis respectively. So each data point is represented as a dot on a graph, where the position of the dot correspondent to the value of two variables. So we can visually access the relationship between the two variables, such as where there is a positive or negative, or there is no correlation between the variables. So in this scatter plot we use only the two variables x and y, that is horizontal and vertical axis x and y. And if we want to find out the correlation between more than one variable, we use the correlation techniques to identify the relationship between the variables. So only we use x and y axis, the scatter plot is sufficient to display the data in a visualization manner. The scatter plot can help identify the data point that don't fit the general trend, and it's known as the outliers. So to check there is a linear or non-linear relationship between two continuous variables in the scatter plots, so we have to see how one variable changes, another variables changes. So we discussed about the one variable will be increase, means the another variables are directly proportional to each other, so it will be calculated as a positive correlation. And that negative correlation is if the data variable x will be increasing, means that is inversely the y variable is inversely proportional to the another variables. So it will spot the extreme value or anomalies in this data. So imagine we are analyzing the relationship between the height and weight of a group of individual. The x could represent as a height and the y axis could represent as a weight. So each dot on the scatter plot represent on the one individuals. So in this, the positive correlation is one variable increases, that the x will be increases, the y also will be in directly proportional to the variable x. So if the variable, the correlation will be a negative, the one variable the x will be increases and another variable y will be inversely proportional to the x variables. And there is no correlation, means there is no discrepancies pattern or relationship between these variables. So these are all the types we used in the scatter plots for this process. So the main applications for the scatter plot is, first one is the correlation analysis. In this scatter plot it is very useful for the investigation of correlation between the two different variables, and it is used to find out whether the two variable have a positive or negative, or there is no correlation between the variables. The outlier deduction is another applications for the scatter plots. The outliers are the data points which are different from the rest of the data set. In the scatter plot is used to bring out these outliers on the surface. So the next one is cluster identification. In this some cases the scatter plots can help to identify the clusters or groups within this data. So the scatter plot is also known as several names: the scatter chart, scattergram, scatter plot, or xy graph. A scatter plot is mainly visualize the data pattern such as elements in it is x-axis, and it generally depend one gets x-axis and another one gets y-axis. The kind of distribution makes it easier to visualize the kind of relationship and that plot the pair of data is holding. So scatter plot is mainly useful in situation when we have to find out the relationship between two sets of data, or in cases when we suspect that there may be some relationship between the two variable, and this relationship may have root cause of some problems. So these are all the we have to find out in this scatter plot. So in this scatter plot we only use the two variables x and y axis. So the x and y axis relationship are defined in this scatter plots. Thank you.